Can't you hear your intuition screaming? Opportunity is knocking so effing loud. Can you not hear? Your intuition is exhausted after years of trying to get your attention, waving every flag there is. A pandemic, a recession, a layoff, a war, a disease, a death. In my own little local world, in the time I've written this article, I've attended the funeral of a youth, supported a friend through spinal surgery, learned of another's terminal diagnosis, and more. And by the way, since this blog was written, much more has happened. And yet a friend just gave birth to a beautiful baby girl at age 50. And that little baby is now living her own countdown to leave her mark on this earth. For her, for you, for me, for everyone, the time is now. The longer you just keep doing what you're doing, the more the world finds a way to tap into you. You are no more than a... Coming out the other side of the pain cave, there is a counterintuitive aspect to finding your way out of the pain cave. I envision the movie Contact, wherein communications from outer space are believed to be instructions for building a sort of space travel pod. Instead of following the design instructions as documented, the human engineers insisted that the design could not be right, as they see no plans for a harness around the passenger in the pod. They cannot imagine a way other than what they've seen before here on Earth. So they build the pod per the design, but they force in extra scaffolding and harnessing to lock down the passenger inside. When the pod is tested, the main character, played by Jodie Foster in the movie Contact, is seen inside the pod, tightly strapped down by the restraints added by the engineers. When the pod is launched, the smooth, rapid movement of the pod fights the rigid limitations created by the harnesses, putting Jodie Foster's character in a cycle of vibrations that dangerously shake her body and brain. Foster taps into her intuition and realizes the original plans had been right. The human added harnesses were fighting the aliens' far more elegant design. She realizes the clips of the harnesses and she releases the clips of the harnesses and is then able to float freely in the center of the pod, feeling calm and nearly motionless while the pod takes the impacts of the travel at high speed. The lesson: if we can stop harnessing ourselves to absolute safety and let go of an immediate show of material or external success, we get in flow toward our purpose. Even big life events, including disease, divorce, pandemics, layoffs, recessions, and deaths, become freeing opportunities when you are not moored to rigid structures. If we can loosen our grip on absolutes and experiment with what feels right, we find we have the tools to build a better fit path forward. What we discover on the other side of the pain cave, you in flow with your intuition. The woo-woo sound of this belies its actual effectiveness in real life. The Navy SEALs call upon a phrase that was born from the sailing culture: slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Setting an entire week's focus on one thing sounds impossibly slow when there are hundreds of line items on the project plan, but the deep dive on the one thing will somehow accelerate what gets done in each hour, and it will get done in what gets done. Real life learnings will shed many of the other minutiae. Why am I saying that funny? Minutiae. There is a further science about the brain, specifically regarding increased blood flow in the posterior cingulate cortex, which plays a role in internal behavior change and rapid connectivity of many other. To tap into the posterior cingulate cortex in the brain, we must quite literally turn off the focus on achievement of known processes and tasks. It is a fundamentally different mode that produces a fundamentally greater product. Let's see what I've got on a side here. I'm going to try to save. The level of research I did on my Kindedge.com steps is deeper than most people are keen to go. In my years of testing the most effective practices, this is just a sidebar, practices in corporate community, I'm just going to skip that. Basically, I've done a lot of work to create my methodology. It's not just cutesy. Goodies on the other side of the pain cave. a truer sense of aplomb, no matter who or what pokes at you. Audible intuition that is your most trusted advisor. Serendipity, people, places, and things in your day are aligned with your values. The popcorn that pops in your new communities is your favorite flavor. Hard work is its own reward, yielding learning, experiences, and exposure you value. Paychecks in exchange for martyrdom, servitude, and on-hold passions are in the rear view mirror. The truth won't trip you up. You've made friends with it, and your least flattering truths become points of connection, not islands of isolation. Safety exists as a soft landing, not a noose. True safety is the ability to nimbly change in the face of any life event. You see here, we're not clinging to things, we're nimble. In his early school years, Richard Branson was socially unsafe. He was labeled a lesser student, a dyslexic. Rather than hiding his disability and struggling to fit in and show competence in tasks below his greater purpose, he used his weakness to master a broader understanding of how big things get built in the real world. If Branson had excelled at his rote homework assignments, the world would have incentivized him to go to college and perform more of those rote tasks, and he would have eventually locked him into a career of some similar rote work. Instead, he embraced his weaknesses and used them to tap into far more transformational learning. He went from seeing the path toward a goal as something he himself would own and deliver end to end, to rather seeing that a greater goal can be achieved when he sees the way forward as a large machine. Richard Branson started many successful businesses by placing his intuition's idea at the helm, and he placed many people of many diverse skills and aptitudes around him to then drive that idea forth. This is how great things get built. Perhaps pressure on students to achieve a perfect score on an essay gives them a perception that self-reliance is the way. In fact, the real world will teach us that you will never master all skills and aptitudes, and the only way is to let your intuition guide you on your contribution to a greater outcome. So the lesson here with Richard Branson is that he was dyslexic. He wasn't going to succeed on individual homework assignments. But this handicap was a wonderful handicap because he said, I still knew what I wanted to achieve, and I knew I couldn't do it, A, at this particular starting point, and B, alone. So he learned. So if you start out and you're perfect A+ in school and you're just a perfect A+ student, you're going to continue being perfect A+ on all your little assignments in life. Richard Branson said, I know that I alone can't do this. And therefore, why not set my goals way bigger and do things with teams and build teams and grow leadership skills? So he essentially said, I am handicapped. I'm going to tie my hands behind my back, and I'm going to have to work with all these other people to get these bigger things built. And that was his path, and it's quite a gift if you take it. So life gives you challenges, and you've got to find the gift. How to free your frozen intuition. So what can you do today to get in touch with your intuition? Document in real life. Try doing this Kindedge task called intuition permission. So there's a link out there to another Kindedge task. Grab your Kindedge journal. I'm going to go grab my Kindedge journal. Here's the Kindedge journal. Everybody should have one because you've got to make these things in real life, and you do every Kindedge step. The first step is getting this binder. Any 24-hour pharmacy has a binder like this. So you take action today. You don't put it on a to-do list for next week. You order it on Amazon to come today. You get it ordered. You get a binder. You get your Kindedge binder. You make it real. If your family's like, what's that? You're going to say, I'm embarrassed. And then eventually you say, no, I'm not embarrassed. This is the project of me. This is my Kindedge project of me. So you get it in real life. Every single thing you do is you do 15 minutes a day, today, and you get it in real life. So you have the journal, and if you see Kindedge step 1 is just getting the journal and then also tracking your time for 28 days, because you've got to be sure that you've fought the invisible barriers in your life to own at least 15 minutes a day on the project of you. to drive big change in real life. So anyhow, grab your Kindedge journal and document in one paragraph a life wherein you are working hard every day on something that fills your soul. Now rewrite that paragraph again and go one level of crazy further. Call on any memories, inspirations, desires, or ideas that come to you to push the idea far from where you are now. Now rewrite that paragraph a few more times until the corners of your mouth turn upward and you giggle like, oh my God, that would be so crazy. Can you imagine? God, keep rewriting that paragraph of your future life. Just a quick, easy, no-brainer summary. And it's when you start laughing like this, you're like, you've got to be freaking kidding. That would be so crazy. Now you're starting to understand your intuition's call to you. The next steps are to gather real world tool paper, crayons, markers, sketch pencils to draw out the details of what you envision in a purely intuitive way, in a picture of what that future life looks like. And then you can do the other Kindedge steps, like a gap assessment, to start to make a project plan in real life to close the gaps financially, logistically, time-wise, emotionally, in community, physically. What are all the factors of the future life, all the factors of your current life, and the action plan to start closing those gaps to unlock the alternate ending to your life. And then you start to have the tough conversations to understand the difficult choices you may need to consider. And the journey goes on from there, step by step, each safely considered, tested, and refined step, pulling impossible ideas into the real world until you are giggling. Kindedge only works if you do it in real life. I'm going to go on there. There's a little aside. You can look at the blog. Loosen the grip on the divining rod. If a divining rod is going to find water, it must be held loosely with freedom to move in any direction. Feed your intuition by seeking to gather inputs from many directions without attachment to any team affiliation. Seek out long-form discussions and debates on any information you consume. Rather than judging first, seek to view any topic from multiple perspectives. Polarity of right and wrong has no movement. Attempts to put a cap on any point of view just doesn't work in the real world. Pressure will always build and the cap will pop off. Be open to white space in the middle where a crazy blend of both may imperfectly exist. Go solo. Explore experiences and venues alone from time to time. Taste test new interest groups and activities without your usual posse. Capture your intuitive interpretations and views before they are tainted by the usual influences of groupthink. Can't you hear your intuition screaming? Opportunity is knocking so effing loud. Can you not hear? Your intuition is exhausted after years of trying to get your attention, waving every flag there is. A pandemic, a recession, a layoff, a war, a disease, a death. In my own little local world, in the time I've written this article, I've attended the funeral of a youth, supported a friend through spinal surgery, learned of another's terminal diagnosis, and more. And by the way, since this blog was written, much more has happened. And yet a friend just gave birth to a beautiful baby girl at age 50. And that little baby is now living her own countdown to leave her mark on this earth. For her, for you, for me, for everyone, the time is now. The longer you just keep doing what you're doing, the more the world finds a way to tap into you. You are no more than a Capri Sun juice pack. The world will always have more straws to poke into you and suck out your juices. You must have a clear vision and defined path if you are going to withstand the limitless number of pokey straws on earth. As Jane Goodall said in a recent talk I attended, death is easier when you know you've done your bit. Figure out your bit. And if it ever seems too hard, be thankful you're just transforming your life and not stepping out of a century run with Courtney Dauwalter. So I'm not going to run an ultra marathon, but I want you to join me on this journey. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be fun, and it's intended to get you in motion today to unlock the alternate ending to your life. Please stay in touch, and you can read all of my blogs online, and I would love to have you subscribe at kindedge.com/subscribe and here at this YouTube channel, and just stay in touch. Peace.